Hello, I'm Dave Feinlieb, and this is Beyond the Shelf. This show is an open exploration of the people and process behind e-commerce. Through conversations with innovators in the space, we learn the stories of these leaders and their strategies for e-commerce success. You can find out more about how we're helping leading brands like Pepsi, Newell, and Revlon build product detail page retail media and sales enablement content more than 80% faster than their category competitors at ItsRapid.ai. My guest on today's show is Rob Gonzalez. Rob is the co-founder and CMO of Salsify, a product experience management enterprise SaaS platform which helps brands and retailers including L'Oreal, Coca-Cola, Bic, Intermarché, Kohl's, and hundreds of others achieve operational excellence to win on the digital shelf. Salsify has raised over $450 million with offices in Boston, Lisbon, and Sydney. Salsify has won dozens of Best Place to Work awards over the years and has been recognized on Deloitte's Fast 500, Wealthfront's Career Launching Companies, and the New England Venture Capital Startup of the Year. Rob is also a co-founder of the Digital Shelf Institute, the commerce community for brand manufacturers, and co-host of the podcast Unpacking the Digital Shelf. Please enjoy my conversation with Rob Gonzalez. Rob, great to see you.
Great to see you too. Thanks so much for having me.
Take us back, if you would. How did you get your start in the space?
I think the short answer is by being a huge nerd.
I love it.
I was a math and computer science geek back in school, and after school, I traveled around the world. And my friend and co-founder of Salsify, Jeremy, while I was traveling, he landed a job at IBM in Boston in the research group. It's called the Advanced Internet Technology Group. And the internet was cool back then. And so I figured, okay, well, why don't I go work for that group? They sound nice. He liked his job. So I used just math and computer science. I ended up being a kind of a research prototyping software engineer in the ad tech group at IBM, focusing on knowledge management in particular. The group was doing semantic web research, if you remember what that was. And then from there, I went to Endeca Technologies, which was literally right across the street. And Endeca pioneered search navigation, merchandising for e-commerce in the 2000s, ultimately acquired by Oracle. And I made the move from being an engineer at IBM to moving into product management. And then in product management, went from more technical product management to more business-oriented product management, to get closer to the business and sales. And then from there, I jumped to Cambridge Semantics, which was founded by the folks from ad tech. So the work that I had worked on at IBM, they open sourced, and code that I had written, patents that I had helped file, all that stuff was now the core of what Cambridge Semantics was looking to build on their Anzo platform. And I thought, my God, this is such an opportunity. I get to help build a company, a technology that I created myself. This is the coolest thing ever. So I loved Endeca, but I felt like I needed to jump over. And again, it was knowledge management, graph-based knowledge modeling systems, all that type of stuff. So prior to Salsify, my whole career was in various forms of knowledge management, data modeling, and search, with Endeca being the germane part of it to e-commerce.
Making that switch from writing code yourself and engineering and so on to the marketing side, would you take a moment and talk to us about how you made that shift and why, and how did you learn kind of the new skill set that you might have needed to be in another part of the business?
For me, it was reasonably intentional. I wanted to get closer to the business over time. I love coding. I mean, I still do when I can as a hobby, but I wanted to be closer to the business. And so the Endeca gave me the opportunity to go into product management, which I didn't really even know what it was. I just knew that it was one step away from engineering. And then at Cambridge Semantics, based on my experience with Endeca, I took on more of the marketing role because somebody had to. And I think the thing that that I always did when I was picking up a new skill, and I think that most people should keep in mind, is that I didn't mind failing or looking stupid. It's not a thing that ever bothered me. So when I would just pick up a new skill, I just try something. All right, that was stupid. Let me, and I would kind of grind away at something until I found a path for it to work. To the extent that I've got a trick on picking up new capabilities, that's the trick. Is that I don't have any kind of fear of failing or looking down when I try something out.
That's a great one. So you were at IBM, you're at Endeca, Cambridge Semantics, and then in 2012 you founded Salsify with Jason Purcell, Salsify CEO, Jeremy Redburn, your chief data officer. Talk to us about founding the company. What was the inspiration, and what was that like?
Well, I mean, Jeremy and I had been talking about starting a company in the late '90s, so we wanted to do it eventually. And the timing was that Endeca had been picked up by Oracle in 2011, so he was free to do something else, and he and Jason were talking about starting something. So the three of us got together, and we had all worked at Endeca. We all know e-commerce search, and the part of the product that I was a product manager of, and actually took a shocking amount of Endeca internal R&D resources, had to do with data cleaning, normalization, and structuring. Endeca, for example, you'd sell a search engine to Walmart, or you'd sell a search engine to Home Depot. They have tens of thousands of suppliers. They have hundreds of thousands of products. And getting data from all those products into the search schema, which ultimately is how Endeca would deliver value to these companies, was just a Herculean data transformation and normalization effort. And so our thought was, geez, companies right now, I mean, this is, again, 12 years ago, right? Companies care a lot about Google. If you have a website, Google is the thing that you care about. Search engine optimization, search engine marketing, they were all the rage. And so the idea was, if you've got a website, Google matters. If you're selling product on e-commerce sites, those e-commerce sites powered by, for example, Endeca's search engine, those are what matter. So our thought was, look, if you're Coca-Cola, if you're L'Oreal, if you're Johnson & Johnson, you should think about search optimizing and conversion optimizing on Amazon, on Kroger.com, on Walmart.com, the same way that other companies focus on search optimizing on Google. And so that was kind of the kernel of the idea. It came from the search background, and we knew how hard it was for those retailers to get good data. So we thought, okay, let's give tools and capabilities back to the branded manufacturers to help them take ownership and control of driving search traffic, driving conversion, optimizing the web experiences. And that was the kernel of the idea that became Salsify and became PXM.
Well, it's amazing what a company and really a whole ecosystem and industry you've built. It's incredible to see the growth. You're head of marketing, CMO now. What does your day-to-day look like?
Well, I mean, I suspect the answer everybody gives you is something to the effect of like, every day is different. I'm a creature of habit as much as I possibly can be. I've got two little girls and a company, and so it's like the more structure I can put in my life, the easier it is. So I don't know if this is giving me TMI, but I get up 5:30, get myself ready for the day, read until the girls get up. Then it's like, make the girls breakfast, get them ready for school, walk them to school, go to the office. And then in the middle of the day, I always reserve time for exercise. I think that's super important. Stay healthy, keep my mind sharp, keep my energy up. And then I try to end every day a little after 5. So I try to just make sure that I'm religious about it so that I can get home, have dinner with the kids, structure the day that way. And then I'm early to bed. I'm asleep by 9:00 most nights. So that's a typical day. And then for what I found over the years is I try to call it 30 to 40% of my time during the day unbooked, so that things come up and I've got time to, I've got buffer to deal with them. There's also work that I've got to do. I've been working on a white paper for a little while now. I mean, it takes tens of hours to do a long form writing. And so I block time for that. And for my department, I try to help people keep their calendars about 40 to 50% free for work time. So my days tend to be, I suspect, compared to peers, they tend to be a little bit less scheduled, and that's that's by intent. I like to have large blocks of time in order to concentrate and get work done.
It's a great set of insights on how to do work. So something really helpful to be learned there. Now we're excited to be participating with you at the upcoming Digital Shelf Institute event in Nashville in April. Tell us what's in store for the event.
The whole idea, we started doing these events back in, I want to say 2015 or 2016. They were originally called the Digital Shelf Transformer events. And the idea is we really wanted a rising tide to lift all boats in the space. HubSpot is another great Boston tech company, and HubSpot had inbound.org, and they did the inbound show. And inbound, 50% of the people attending inbound weren't even using HubSpot. The idea was if they could help people be better marketers, and everybody's a better marketer, then that's a good thing that's worth doing in and of itself. And then, their thought was because they had the best product, they would disproportionately benefit. So we've taken that approach with the Digital Shelf Summit. I mean, first and foremost, it's a thought leadership summit. We've got folks speaking at the event, like the formerly people that ran Amazon Canada and folks from research institutes like Stratably, which is a phenomenal research institute. Folks like you have been multi-time entrepreneur in the e-commerce space. So more than anything else, we wanted to put together an agenda where folks that are working on the digital shelf at branded manufacturers, they want to hone their craft, they want to get better, they want to learn from the best in the industry, they want to have time to network. That's what the whole thing is about. Let's create a space for that. And so I think we've got a killer agenda this year. It's the best set of speakers we've ever had. I'm psyched for it. I'm just psyched to go to the sessions myself.
And if I have it right, this is the first time you're doing an in-person event in a few years since before the pandemic.
Yes, right. I mean, it took us a little while to get back on the horse. It was hard. Those are a couple difficult years for trying to arrange travel and make a big bet. I mean, there's going to be 1,000 people at this event, so it's a big commitment. And we kind of waited until we were sure that folks would be able to travel and there wouldn't be any issues with it. And good timing. The CDC just updated their guidelines on COVID restrictions and all that stuff March 1st. So yeah, I think you could argue maybe we should have done it last year, but I'm quite happy that we're doing it.
It's great. It's really exciting now. Can people still register for the event?
They can. There's the Digital Shelf Summit website, which you could find using your friendly Google. Still some spots open.
Great. We'll include a link to the event and the registration page in the show notes. Now, also notable, you recently released Salsify Advance, a new version and an exciting version of the platform. I'm sure that'll be a big topic for the show. It's got some great new capabilities in it. What are you most excited about in the new platform release?
The thing I'm most excited about is what it enables our customers to do from a test and learn perspective with artificial intelligence. So we've plumbed in new locations in the product for us to develop features to help with PXM. One example that I would not have been really possible before Gen AI is qualitative review of certain brand or description restrictions that retailers have. This is increasingly common in grocery, for example, for retailers to say you can't use a superlative in the product description. It's very difficult to create a regular expression or to create a hard-coded business logic computer rule to ensure that product descriptions don't have a superlative in them. So in order to ensure that, you have to have a human review step with these things. And that's expensive, it's time-consuming, it delays product launches and so forth. And Gen AI is phenomenal at that stuff. I mean, it's crazy good at that. So there's all types of validation and quality checks and quality improvement areas that we've started plugging it into. But we also recognize that we're in the early test and learn phase of AI in general. And we wanted to make sure that we had hooks for our customers and partners to inject whatever experiments they wanted to run regarding products into the system in a way that is responsible and that also takes advantage of governance and data accuracy capabilities. So we extended our workflow platform to allow for better integrations with things like OpenAI, your own, if you've got your own LLM models, your own GPTs you've trained, if there's partner technologies that are wrappers on those models or that have slightly different takes on AI, we wanted to make it easy to plug them in. And so we spent a lot of work thinking about how that would play out.
You've been in this space for a number of years now. Were you surprised by how quickly Gen AI took off and has become a mainstream topic?
Oh my God. Yes. In college, I studied AI under Andrea Daniluk, who passed away recently. And she was a phenomenal researcher. And one year, my school hosted the International Conference of Machine Learning. And I was a thesis student under her at that time, or summer researcher. And back then, it was things like support vector machines were getting a lot of attention, and so I had some old school experience working in the space and followed it loosely. I mean, there was the deep learning explosion of about 10 years ago, where a lot of people were paying attention to it, and certainly, we used it internally in various ways. But yeah, I was caught completely by surprise. I'd missed the transformer moment and importance when that paper first came out, and it's just been incredible how capable those systems have become, how quickly. So yeah, I think I was definitely surprised and delighted to see the jump in capability that's happened in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's been incredible to see it and exciting to have it as part of the platform capability set. So looking forward to seeing more there. Now, we're thrilled to be partnering with you on a number of capabilities. Sell Sheets is the hot topic of the moment. Obviously, we like working on banner ads and mobile heroes and videos and all kinds of things, but would love if you could spend a moment and talk about the partnership with ItsRapid from your point of view.
Sell Sheets is such an interesting topic. In the early days, we weren't quite sure what market would be the best market to start with for PXM. We had conviction that every branded manufacturer would at some point need to control their product experiences and optimize them for search and conversion. But what's going to come first? Is it going to be personal care? Is it going to be CPG? Is it going to be automotive? So we ran a lot of tests and had customers across pretty much every single product category you can imagine in the first few years. And in certain product categories, anything that's industrial supply distribution, as an example, sell sheets are hugely, hugely important. So we had built, like a V1 early sell sheets generating capability out of the system for those early customers, and kind of it's serviced them for a while, but it's not something that is core to the vast majority of our market. And so it's something that for a certain part of our market is crazy important. And then for the rest of the market, they would use it if only maybe we invested in it and made it better, but we're not going to. And we've made the decision that, look, we're never going to be the best at this. It's too complicated. Sell sheets, there's so much customization you're going to want for sell sheets that we're not going to build. We're not a sell sheet company. This makes no sense for us. So we're delighted to basically say, look, ItsRapid has a unbelievable product that we're never going to have anything even remotely close to this in the software. Let's partner and enable that. And so one of the big launches with Advances, we've got an app center that allows for repeatable integrations to either enhance or frankly replace underdeveloped features that are in our platform with something better. So ItsRapid is one of the launch partners for the App Center. There's an app that's in there. It generates the sell sheets, and I mean it's everything that a ton of our customers have been asking for that we just haven't been investing in for years. So I'm psyched about it. I think I know our customers are psyched about it. There's spaces like industrial supply distribution where it's just critically important. And I mean, there's literally hundreds of customers that have been asking about this. So yeah, that's my short summary. It's great to see it happening.
Well, thanks. We'll keep trying to deliver. The other space I want to talk about was retailer connectivity. You've introduced this idea of the open ecosystem. And I love it if you could take a moment and talk about why that's important and what you're doing there.
Yeah, I personally, philosophically, believe in open ecosystems in general. And I mean, you could probably psychoanalyze me on that, but my dad is a Cuban refugee, escaped communism, went from the communist market to the free market. And I think that the way that the markets work best, a strong conviction on this, is when open competition is allowed and when consumers and buyers and purchasers can make the choice based on what's best for them on what technologies they want to use. So that's a philosophical belief that I've got going into this whole thing. And when we were first building Salsify, we had experience doing retailer websites, but we didn't really know much about the data supply chains on how brands and retailers collaborated. That's something that we've learned over time. And one of the things that I was kind of shocked to discover is that retailers had all these legacy contracts with individual solutions that they then required their suppliers to go through. And these legacy solutions included, for example, Gladson, which has been around for many decades. And so if you were trying to set up an item for many grocers in the US, you had to physically take a product, mail it to a photography center in Illinois. They would take photos of the product. They would, do a rough digitization of information that's on the package. They would then make that data available in an XML feed, which could go directly into your planogram system, like JD Edwards. And that was the system. And if you didn't want to use Gladson, you didn't have a choice. You had to go through Gladson for those grocers. And the issue with that is it means that you're being intermediated. The relationship between the brand and the retailer is being intermediated, and the brand gives up control of the content. The content's being created by a third party. And especially these days, if you're Johnson & Johnson, you're Coca-Cola, you're generating fully digitally optimized pack shots. You're not using photography. Photography's, it's like a last millennium thing. You're creating fully digitally pixel perfect pack shots, and you'd rather the grocers use those. They're objectively better. Don't use the photos. Use the fully optimized version, right? The one that's up to date. If you change the package, which these people do, they change it sometimes. You want to be able to update the websites in real time. You don't want to wait 6 weeks. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to make it easier for grocers to kind of move away from a legacy model to a world where their suppliers had choice, where they could get more direct control of their content. They can control their content more optimally, and they could pick the best technology that they wanted for it, like whether it's Salsify or somebody else. Just give them the power to do it. So we've been investing, for example, in the open catalog system and the open experience alliance as a group both an open catalog as a technology, and the open experience alliance is a consortium to advocate for open networks and give manufacturers the choice. I mean, for us, at Salsify, for example, we don't really sell to like SMB suppliers, but in the world of the digital shelf, SMB is really, really important. Other technologies should come around to support the SMB, right? And we don't want there to be, Salsify exclusive walled garden that prevents another technology player from servicing a part of the market that maybe we're not as well suited to serve, right? So I think ultimately that's what we're trying to do. We've got the Open Catalog, Open Experience Alliance. I'm passionate about this stuff. I think the world is going to be better. Consumer experiences are going to be better if brands are able to choose whatever solution they want that fits best for their model.
Well, on that note, you had a terrific write-up on the last 10 years of PIM and PXM, and you're working on a white paper, I think, about the next 10 years. So would love to get your perspective on what are we seeing this last decade and where are things going?
So the term PXM was coined in 2014 by a Forrester analyst named Nasri Angel. I thought it was a good time to next 10 years, last 10 years, take a look. And if I look back, I mean, you remember e-commerce in 2010, no brand cared about it. I mean, if you're a global CPG company, less than 1% of your gross is online. In 2010, Amazon's not even a top 10 retailer, right? And this is a side gig. And people understood that maybe it's going to become important, but they weren't quite sure exactly in what shape or how to organize around it or how to invest in it. Companies created these test and learn experimentation budgets. So you had e-commerce sales teams, you had digital centers of excellence, you had, different types of experiments basically, to see what would growth look like, and what do you have to do, and how do you bring talent into the organization that's better at this stuff. So I think that the first decade of PXM was really about building software that enabled these tiger teams, the e-commerce teams, the digital centers of excellence, the folks that were on the front line experimenting with the future, to have software that they could rapidly iterate on as they were testing and learning their approach to digital. So I think that was the first decade. You look at Salsify's data model, for example, in 2017, we weren't really an enterprise PIM. You couldn't use this as an enterprise PIM, but geez, you could store a lot of data in us, and you could iterate really quickly what's on Amazon with that data. I think the transition to this next decade, companies have figured out what digital is. They figured out what e-commerce is. You've seen in almost every major CPG company in the last 2 years, some major reorg that includes digital as a top 3 focus area. They've got the right people in the job. They know what processes they've got to evolve. And something like PXM, and in particular the product data, moves from being a side gig in a tiger team department to something that's a little more central to the enterprise tech stack, right alongside DAM or right alongside ERP. So that's the next evolution, and that's something that we've been investing heavily in alongside our customers for the last few years. All the enterprise capabilities, connectivity, partnership, and connection to things like the whole Salesforce ecosystem, and so on and so forth, to enable the PXM to be an enterprise tech pillar, as opposed to just something that supports digital shelf within a department.
Well, it's incredible. I remember, like you were saying, when we were building my previous company, Content Analytics, being in a customer meeting and someone saying, that e-commerce thing, we should definitely stay in touch on that. It's interesting. Let's keep an eye on it. Maybe we could do a pilot. And now, of course, it's a huge, the huge growth driver. So it's great to see, and great to see the tools kind of come along with it. Shifting gears, Rob, I'd love to spend a moment on retail media. It's another big investment. The retailers are spending a lot of time and effort on it. How does that tie into your strategy and your thinking about e-com and omni-channel content more broadly?
Yeah, retail media is definitely a mover in the field. I personally don't watch TV. So I don't see ads or anything like that, except for retail media ads. And I think in the U.S. in the last 2 years, less than 50% of households now subscribe to linear TV. So in the whole advertising ecosystem, it's just been turned over in the last 5-6 years. All the growth is going to retail media or the nonlinear TV platforms, the Vizios and Samsungs and whatnot, of Rokus of the world. So yeah, this is a huge, major tectonic shift in advertising dollars, to the tune of, I think, retail media by 2025 or 6 is going to be $150 billion in spend. I mean, it's already bigger than linear TV. It's crazy. I don't think anybody in 2015 would have predicted this. Less than 10 years later, the entire center of gravity of the advertising ecosystem shifts. So if you look at retail media, the thing that you need in order to succeed online fundamentally is the product detail page really, really good. If someone gets to the product detail page, leaving aside how they get there for a second, if they get there, are the images compelling? Is the product title compelling? Is the description compelling? Are the feature bullets compelling? Is everything there that a consumer needs to have confidence in the purchase, click that add to cart button, click that buy now button, and move on with their day? And if it's not, if there's any delay, if there's anything that's quite missing, if someone has to go hunting, they leave. The bounce rates are super, super high. So the foundation of e-commerce is having a really great PDP. And if you look at Amazon, and you look at their retail media program, they take into account the conversion rates of the PDPs for the winning bids on retail media. And this makes total sense, because if you've got a crap PDP, but you're willing to dump a ton of money on retail media and your conversion rate's lower, Amazon will take the click, but then they don't get the sale of the product. What they want is the click and the sale of the product. That's the most profitable path for them. So the retail media, all things being equal, if you're bidding the exact same as somebody else for a spot, you're going to win if your conversion rate on your PDP is higher. And your conversion rate on your PDP is higher if your content is higher. So the content quality is hugely impactful here. Russ from Stratably and the Digital Shelf Institute did a study where they interviewed 78 large branded manufacturers. These are $1 billion plus revenue branded manufacturers, mostly in the CPG space, but across a couple different categories. CPG, of course, is the biggest spender on retail media right now. And 75% of them, maybe 74% of them said they consider the quality of the PDPs before increasing any spend in retail media. And so you look at retailers all over the place trying to follow Amazon's lead and Walmart's lead, spinning up their own retail media programs. And what'll happen is branded manufacturer doesn't have a lot of incremental dollars they can throw at this. They're shifting from trade, they're shifting from brand. They might be shifting between retail media programs. They're looking for what the ROAS is going to be, and the ROAS is higher when the PDPs have better quality. And they're explicitly saying, if the PDP content is bad, we're going to move fewer dollars or no dollars over. We're not going to move dollars until the PDP quality is increased. And I can't give specific examples of this without violating NDA, but we see this all the time in our base where a supplier will go to a retailer and say, look, I understand you're asking us to spend incrementally here, but you haven't fixed this problem we've been talking about for 3 years on the PDP. I mean, come on. So that's how I think that we contribute to it. I don't have any desire to build, an ad tech platform or anything like that. There's plenty of good ones that are out there. We don't have direct experience running ads ourselves. And so our view is that we're gonna help support the ROAS of these programs primarily through the foundational exercise of optimizing the PDPs, and then secondarily by being the system of record for product content, so that if you're looking for images and you're looking for copy and you're looking for things like that to support your ad strategy, you can get them all in one place inside PXM.
Fantastic. Well, Rob, we've covered a lot of great topics. Would you take a minute and tell us next 12, 24 months, we've got AI, we've got media, we've got the advanced platform. What are your predictions for the next 12 months and going forward?
So I think AI is super exciting, but it's very much test and learn. Everyone's playing with it. And I think that's going to be the story for a little while. I think it takes a little while for these things to figure out. I mean, just think about it. Companies were testing and learning e-commerce strategies and organizational structures and KPIs for years before they started settling into patterns that they felt more confident would stick for a while. I think the same is true for AI. Where is it going to have the biggest leverage? Where's the ROI going to be the highest? What are the types of tasks where if we use AI for, we can free up rare human capital to do other things? What should those other things be? The next couple of years, people are just going to be asking those questions and testing. So I think I'm excited to do that. I love the experimentation phase. I think that's going to be really, really great. And then for us, the other thing that's exciting is a lot of retailers are investing in more automation because there's the retail media pressure to increase the quality of the product detail pages is leading for them to review how traditionally they've been ingesting content to support the product detail pages. And so we're seeing in some cases, for example, in grocery, in the mid-market in grocery, companies that really haven't looked at the digital experience too sharply 5-6 years ago, everybody's looking at it pretty sharply right now. And so I think there's going to be a big wave of increasing automation and increasing experience quality with retailers over the next couple of years, driven exactly by the trends that you're calling out.
Well, it's been a great set of topics that we've been able to cover today. If you're up for it, I've got a kind of a rapid fire round of questions for us to wrap up with. All right. So the first one is, and I know it's hard to pick only two, but which two people have inspired you the most in your professional life?
One that I've been reading for years, and he just came out with a new book called Slow Productivity. His name is Cal Newport. He's an author. He's about my age. He's a computer science professor at Georgetown. Went to Dartmouth. I read a book that he wrote years ago called So Good They Can't Ignore You. It was the first Cal Newport book that I read. And he's really the forward thinker on deep work, on making sure that you have set aside significant amounts of time to do high quality work, on moving away from the frenetic meeting, Slack, email, always on culture that is just poison, in my view, to something that's more sustainable, where quality matters more, where activity matters less. And so I continually get inspired by him. I love his books. I love his podcast. So that's one that immediately jumps to mind. The other one is a former Navy SEAL, Jocko Willink. His catchphrase is discipline equals freedom. And certainly the older I get, that the more I believe that to be the foundation of almost everything. Discipline just matters so very much. You can't accomplish great things without it. And whether within our work, within my work, within how I schedule my day, the whole bit, that's what I tend to think about quite a bit. So the two of them over the last 5-6 years have probably been the two maybe thought leaders in the space that have influenced the way that I operate and think the most.
Great sources of inspiration. Now, when you get some downtime, if you get some downtime outside of friends and family, how do you like to spend your time?
I mean, I have kids, so a little kid, they're 4 and 7.
That is your time.
So yeah, it's like little kids, work, exercise, and then with the bits that are remaining, I read. And I just I don't watch TV or anything like that. I love books. I love reading. I read all kinds of stuff. And reading's great because, if you take a week off of reading because you were super busy, it's fine. You can just go back to it, right? It's not like guitar playing or something where if you take a week off, your fingers start hurting. So yeah, reading is such a great hobby that fits into all the cracks all the time, little slices of time you might have during the day. And I love it.
Rob, if people want to get in touch with you, find you, what's the best way for them to reach you online?
Probably the only way is LinkedIn. I'm not a social media guy. I'm an anti-social media guy in some ways. So LinkedIn is probably the easiest.
I've really enjoyed our conversation today. So many great topics. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Good to see you.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. Beyond the Shelf is brought to you by ItsRapid. ItsRapid is the platform Pepsi, Sierra Nevada, Revlon, and hundreds of other leading brands and retailers use to build personalized content at scale. Whether that's images, videos, or product descriptions for their product detail pages, shoppable videos or banners for their digital ad campaigns, or sell sheets for sales enablement, brands that use ItsRapid are able to produce high-quality, on-brand content on average more than 80% faster than category competitors. To find out more, please visit ItsRapid.ai. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Shelf.